Hey, Amie.
Yeah, Juan.
Give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Have I told you lately how much I appreciate you doing our intro? You're really good at it. So thank you.
Have I told you lately
that I
that
love
you? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so, how are you, Amie? ¿Cómo estás?
I'm good. It's been a busy week of baseball and lots of ups and downs and fans upset and players not doing what people want and
a lot
of
fans.
celebrations and also like remembrances. So like the baseball world has been busy.
A lot of upset fans. And you know what? I kept thinking of that woman who said, sometimes I need to take a break. I really hope she took a break this past week, because if she didn't take a break,
this was not the week to not take a break, is what you're saying?
I think she got exposed to a lot of vitriol. So we got a lot to cover. We got a lot to discuss. So why don't we get straight into it? And a pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be.
I will say on the tail end of your that story of the woman who took a break, I tried to be pretty like easygoing with especially friends who message me on Instagram, and I had to message a friend and be like, hey, I really need you not to send me this stuff anymore. Like, you keep sending me negative stuff and baseball's my refuge. Like, this isn't working. Please, like, send me happy stuff, but like, don't send me this. Like, I don't destroy my good place. And I never say things like that. I usually like, all right, we'll just let it go. And like for my sanity, and thanks to you sharing that story last week, it gave me the courage to speak up and like, I appreciate that friend, like keep sending me stuff, but like, please don't send me this. Like, this is my happy place. So thank you to that listener.
And for you listeners, it wasn't me.
It was not Juan.
I wasn't the one bombarding
Juan,
her with
stop
negative.
Sending me negative stuff, Prince of Darkness. No, it was not you.
I send her Care Bears.
You do.
Oh, by the way, I saw a guy. He was wearing a hat that said "I care," but it was in the Care Bears font.
I love it.
I was at the movies and I turned around and I was just like, we were at the screening of E.T. and he was wearing that. And I didn't want to sit there and be like, hey, I recognize the font on your hat. And
Care Bear stare.
Exactly, because I have a taco Care Bear.
Which is still the ID background on your phone contact in my
There we go.
I did think of you on the way to the Hello Kitty game. I stopped at Five Below to go get snacks. And they actually have a bag of, I think it's like Grumpy Bear gummy bears from the Care Bears. So hey, you have your own. You have your own candy or whatever it is. The one with the little like clouds on his belly.
I'm a Grumpy Bear. All right, so the Doyers had it's a very weird schedule. They had a 6-game homestand. They're going then on the road.
7 games.
A 7-game. That's right. A 7-game homestand. Then they go on the road for 3 games. Then they come back for a 3-game homestand, and then
go back out on the road.
This is all to tell you guys that the number of homestands remaining on the season is very, very small. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who haven't gone to a Dodger game this year, you're running out of time. Or for those of you that are planning, hey, I need to go back, you need to plan it real quickly, because September's right around the corner and that's it. Mm-hmm. So Amie, let's start off with the series against the Royals of Kansas City. What were your takeaways there?
So Scooble made his Dodger Stadium debut. We got to see that, which was awesome.
And you were there in person, correct?
I was there as a fan. So because I had posted some footage, so I don't want to get crossed that I was posting stuff and under a different hat. Did run into some of our media friends out there, and so because we had gotten there early and we got a good spot so that we could see the bullpen, we actually like let some of them come in and, hey, okay, get your shots now, get out. This is our spot. Just kidding. But it was awesome to see him get warmed up. The fans were like super jazzed about him being there. Not the way I'm sure we wanted that game to go. We did win, but it was a little bit of a rocky game, but we got through it.
I feel like all of them are rocky at this point, but what are you gonna do?
Heyo, and they're playing the Rockies right now.
Hi-oh.
So, but he went 5 innings. He gave up 3 runs, but there's so much going on in these games. I feel like you had Muncy kind of save it where he got that the 3-run double. Like he basically just cleared the bases. So I think that kind of helped out at least to salvage the game, but I don't know if it was in time to give him the win. Honestly, I don't have it pulled up right now, but probably not.
No, he did not get the win in that game. And, if you listen to some of the announcers, they'll say that, it's going to take a minute for him to adjust, coming to a new team. It's a new league. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What else do you got, Amie?
But I think that is valid, and I feel like we forget that because and I'm sure when we get to other stuff later on, like this applies in so many situations. It's not that he just got uprooted from his team and switched over to another one, and like everybody just assumes like, well, it's the Dodgers, he'll be happy, and we see him fitting in pretty well. Like there's video going around the socials of all the dugout celebrations that the guys do where they greet each other and they have all the different handshakes and him kind of messing around with Kike, and everybody's like, oh, this is so awesome, like he's already fitting in. And Dave Roberts even said something to the effect on Saturday, like he is starting to fit in, but it is still different. If, it would be different if one of us left the show and went to go work with someone else. Like I would miss you. I'm used to talking to you. I'm used to our habits. It would be weird going to work with somebody else. And so
it would probably be happier though.
No, stop it. No,
be a lot happier.
It would not make me happier. My point being, let's say you left the show. If we're both working with different people, that's hard.
She's not hinting at anything,
I am
guys.
Not,
I mean,
forgive me for using a real world example. I'm a minute there, I'm
like, Amie, do you know something I don't know? I mean,
I'm not going anywhere. Are you going?
Is this how I find out? You tell me.
Who's whispering in your ear?
Exactly.
No, but I mean, but truly though, like. We've worked together for 3 years now. It would be weird working with somebody else. Like how you would do it, but like there's so much more that goes into it. And I feel like we don't give these guys enough credit for doing a lot of those changes. And they're like split second changes sometimes. Like you're on a flight like within 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. And now, okay, here's your new family. Good luck. Do a good job.
Look, of all the things that happened this week, Tarek Skubal is the least of my worries. I mean, there are a lot of components that need to work together in order to win a baseball game. Pitching is one of them, and I don't think he's pitched poorly.
No, I don't think he's gotten the run support that he needs, at least early in the game, which we already know run support is a challenge. It was nice, though, that on his debut, we also had Max Muncy's Game 7 bobblehead day, and then Max Muncy, like I mentioned, came through. And it's always nice to see, like, those things gel. And again, we've got a lot of close scoring games in the majority of the ones that we're talking about. Like these games are decided like on a razor's edge, it feels like lately. And this one went in their favor, or at least all of the ones in the Royal Series actually went in their favor, which was good.
I mean, this is magic. I mean, this is music to the ears of David Wansatako, who is the president of the Marching and Chowder Society for Max Muncy, who I mean, there's a lot of finger pointing going on, especially with the fans. None of the fingers should be pointed at Max Muncy. Muncy is having himself a nice little week, and he's He's doing the things that we're going to talk
That
about
we
later on.
expect him to do, even though we shouldn't have expectations.
Well, not necessarily of expecting, but it's the stuff that he's been doing his whole career for the Dodgers. I know we're going to talk about the legends of Dodger baseball later on in this episode, but I think he is a very strong candidate. Eventually, he's going to be in there because not only is he the longest tenured Doyer, he's still putting on numbers. And I want to remind everybody, it wasn't too long ago in the offseason where he was contemplating retirement. And looking at, if there wasn't a certain unicorn on the team, I think it would be very easy to say that perhaps he is the MVP of this team, at least offensively this year.
Yeah. I mean, he hits the walk-off single and extras on Tuesday night. You have Snell debuting, like coming off of the injured list. So like his first like post-IL stint. You've got Mookie getting his 100th Dodger Stadium career home run. I saw a lot of bandying about on social media when people posted this. They're like, he has more runs than 100. And it's like, no, this is at Dodger Stadium. His number for hitting home runs in the actual stadium. So for everybody who got upset at other people online, there are multitudes of stats that can be utilized in these games. And what we did see Tuesday was Freddie batting second in the lineup. So,
you called it. Yeah, you predicted it.
They continue to shake this stuff up. I think while the Dodgers do lead the MLB in double plays, I think this is a step in the right direction to maybe minimize some of that, especially with how often Andy Pages is getting on base. So it was nice to see. They didn't do it because of me, obviously, but like the front office is thinking about these things and they're consistently making changes. So it's not like they're just stagnating. They're like, okay, what do we do with this number? What do we do with this stat? How do we change it? And what do we see reflected either on the field, in the batter's box, or on the mound? So,
you know what, Amy, I want to start a segment on the show, and I'm spitballing here. I'm just throwing it out there because I don't know if there is a resolution to it. But I want to be able to help listeners and Doyer fans when they get triggered. And you mentioned double plays is I think something that triggers fans. But you mentioned Andy Pages, and the other thing that I've noticed that really seems to trigger a lot of Doyer fans, at least on social media, is Andy Pages and the ABS challenge system.
Oh my God, him and Rick Monday, they're not fans of his challenges.
I don't think anybody is. I know Eric Karros wasn't on the call, but Eric Karros in the past has been. But I have never. I mean,
I'm surprised they're still letting him do it. Like, how are you still pulling these challenges out?
And that's what I hear every fan say. So that's why I want to start a segment where you fans tell me what triggers you, and maybe we can find a solution for it. Maybe we can spin it in a way where you guys won't spin out, because Amy, the number of meltdowns that people started having once Andy Pages loses a challenge, and I get it. There really, I'm not going to sit here and defend it because there really is no defense for it. I mean, the guy even tries challenging when they don't have challenges. Like, I think he automatically, like, he taps his helmet and is like, bro, you don't have any challenges. Like, what are you tapping your helmet for? Like, he's doing a Rain Man imitation at that point where it's just like, hot water burn baby, Maybe
that's what they need to do is like, whoa, he was quoting a movie. So yeah. No, that one didn't count. That one didn't count.
What else do you got with the Kansas City Royals series?
So before we get into one of the highlights of it, Hello Kitty night happened in the midst of all of that chaos.
I want to hear these stories because I want to know if it's changed, because I remember last year you went to Hello Kitty and you were ready to talk about getting triggered, which I've never seen from you, by the way. You are just not that. I rarely do. You are, in the words of the fabulous Birdcage, you keep it all inside, So when you let it out, Fussy, Martha Graham, Madonna, Michael Kidd. When you let something out, then that means like it really is.
It finally got to me. Yeah.
Is an S show. So was Hello Kitty an S show this time?
So here's the thing. And this is where I a caveat. Like, I know I am blessed. I am a season ticket holder. And so honestly, having that early entry probably saved my sanity, because before we even got let in from like the parking gates, there were already people, like the lines were long already
So
because of the
now,
people that walked up.
was this a 40,000 giveaway, or
Yep.
was this a full?
As far as I know, it was 40,000.
Okay.
It was like get there. But that being said,
which it's not like this is a surprise to everyone. I mean, everyone
no, but
knows
it
every year
is.
that Hello Kitty is a very popular night.
But I think that's where we take it for granted, though, because there were so many people in the stadium that were like just dumbfounded. I don't think everybody does realize it. I don't think everybody goes every year. And so there were a lot of shell-shocked individuals, and you would hear some comments from people of like what is happening? And so I think that's something that we take for granted, either being there like in a media capacity, being there in a season ticket holder capacity, how often we get to go. For some people, they get one game a year, if they even get that. So like if this is the game that they go to because it looked cool on the promotions, not realizing the chaos that ensues, like you're in for a ride. So by the time we got in, like they let everybody in before the actual scheduled times because there was such a backup already. I have early entrance, so we go in our special gate and we go in. We had our boxes. It was smooth. Like I said, it is the only thing saving my sanity. Everybody else, like they're waiting in these lines for like almost an hour at this point, probably over an hour, because I think they let people walk up around 4:00, which is usually, I don't think they open gates till like 4:40. So it was a lot.
It was an S show for everyone else except you, because
except for the season. Except for the season,
privileges.
I pay handsomely for those privileges. For the season ticket holders, and then what you've shared with me before, and I hadn't realized it was happening quite so mainstream, but you can pay for early entry as well, in addition to your parking. So they also have a separate line, which there has been some confusion there, because while there are signs for the members, and we recognize that, again, we go pretty often. If this is your first time going and you have early entry, you see the signs where everybody's going in, but they have actually separated it out, and early entry that's paid has a separate line that they go in, but you still get early entry. So for those people, they made it in, they skipped the line, and you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. And then it kind of goes to the fun of it, right? Like everybody's opening their blind boxes. You see people starting to like trade. Hey, do you have a My Melody? I have a Kuromi. Do you have this? And so like once everybody got in and got their giveaway, then it was more fun. And then you saw people like kind of coming out of the woodwork. Like I haven't talked to that many people at the stadium in a while, but people would, hey, we got Pom per, I don't even remember his name. We had a couple obscene ones for him. I will not repeat on the show, but like the little dog people were looking for. So like everybody was just kind of trying to come up on the one that they wanted. So
and that was new, right? Because most of the nights are just Hola Gatito. This time it was Hola Gatito and friends. Right?
Yeah. So I don't think you can see, like, you can see the box. There were 5. You opened it up. You got your little like wrapper or whatever, and then everybody was like doing their own little like ooh ASMR, like check out what I got. So I got the Kuromi, and then I really wanted My Melody, but then I was like, oh, but she kind of matches my mood right now. So the Lopai gifted me a My Melody. So
there you go. Did you go to Maidonos today?
I have not left the house. I've been at work, and then I prepped for a show. Why? What happened?
So I've been seeing this on social media. I guess there's Happy Meals that have Hola Gatito as Gojira.
Oh, I did hear about this. Yes.
My sister just went because my sister's a big Hola Gatito fan, and she was posting about her Hola Gatito in a Gojira costume. So I was just like, man, Hola Gatito is just taking over at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they had all of the merch. So like I got my little like cup or whatever with the little hologram. They were selling packages like for $60. You got a prepackaged box, no drink, no food like included in the box, but it was like 2 cups, 2 jars, a popcorn thing or whatever, and then 2 hot dogs came with it or something like that. Those things were flying off the shelves. Like some people had their like Hello Kitty, like their hoodie that we got at the first giveaway, and other people, and this is how you can tell, like not everybody comes to the stadium all the time. They were like, "Oh my gosh, did you buy that in the store? Like, which store did you get that at?" Like, "Oh no, that was a giveaway." So, I mean, but generally in the park, once people got in, it was very lighthearted. So it was a good time after the entry. So
There you go.
probably one of the better ones that I have been to. And you know how I feel about Hello Kitty Night. So I think this is my fourth one.
Yeah, I'm glad it went well and it survived. What else
It
do you
survived. I survived. So we did see Lauer had his season high number of pitches in that Wednesday game. He did manage to help save the bullpen between him and I think it was it Landon? Yeah, Landon Knack. They split up the innings, and we still got a win. We got a bunch of home runs in that game, and they managed to pull it out.
We had a proof of life sighting for Landon Knack.
Yep.
So
he had a little bit of a bobble on the mound where everybody thought he was going to catch the ball on the top of the eighth, and he didn't catch it. And you heard the crowd. And I don't know if you saw on social media afterwards though, but his wife had posted something when he came out of the game of her like catch, and she tossed something at him, and it was like, haha.
It was a very anxious week at Uniculo Field.
So, which then, anxious was Freddie Freeman just falling into the dugout. Like,
okay,
towards the
so
end of the game.
you weren't at the stadium when this happened, right?
No,
we're talking
I
about
was...
the spill that Federico had into the Royals dugout.
Yeah, so that was again in Wednesday's game, top of the eighth. Isaac Collins was in at bat on the Royals side. It was a 2-1 count, and Freddie goes to chase a foul ball. He thinks he has more room to get it in the dugout. He thinks he's just gonna like lay out kind of on the rail and like catch it. And there was no rail. And normally it's a more populated side of the dugout where you usually see like the other players like kind of lean up and here, don't fall. There was no one there. He fell all the way in. And the only thing that saved him was that he's so tall, he didn't actually hit his head on the stairs because he kind of over his body like filled up so much of that space.
Well, also because that specific area where he fell in, there's another set of stairs that go down to the visitors clubhouse.
Yep.
If that was a flat, if there was no passageway, he would have. I think he.
It would have been worse than it already was. And
yes,
and this guy, he can't stay out of a game. So even though he's got like right side whole body soreness, he ends up playing in Thursday's game, and Friday was a scheduled day off for him. So you would think like maybe you flop the days. No, that guy was in on Thursday, and then he did take the scheduled day off on Friday because his body was still sore. But like, man, you cannot get him out of a game.
Well, two things that I want to talk about in terms of the Federico fall. So I'm watching it, and look, yes, it was bad.
I pulled over to watch it. So like I was almost home, and I pulled over on the side of the road, pulled up my game, and I was like, oh my God.
I mean, it was bad. I was watching it on TV, and you could see you're just like, oh snap, like he's gonna fall. But I will say, I think what made it worse and what made it more alarming was Steven Nelson's call. Steven Nelson called that like it was like we're watching JFK get shot. Right.
Oh, I need to go back and listen to that.
The way because he was like, because I don't know, because sometimes when you're in the press box, you're either looking at the ball, right? And then you look down and you see where the player is, or sometimes people just look straight at the players, right? So Steven Nelson's call is just like, it was one of those like, oh my God, Freddie, like literally like, what's up?
These are his people.
Exactly, right? So that's why it's frightening because you're watching something, and I think what makes it worse is hearing someone else's reaction. Like if people are screaming, that's gonna like what's happening, right? What's going on?
That makes sense because I was listening to the radio broadcast, and so it was a little bit different. Like they were still
was Neverett on the call?
think it
for
was
that?
never. I think it was never. Honestly, I heard it and I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" I immediately got to the side of the road, tried to pull up my game, and then like I couldn't even get the sound to connect in the car right away, and it was just like, "Is he okay? Is he standing up?" Like, so it was all a blur.
Listen to Steven Nelson's call
I'll go
and
back.
tell me if you don't think his reaction makes it more. And look, it's an honest reaction, right? Because the way he fell, you would think, oh my gosh, he really hurt himself.
But that's what I appreciate about Steven Nelson is his authenticity when he's calling games.
That was all that I don't think like that wasn't canned. That was a legitimate
he did not practice
reaction.
that before the game. Like,
yeah,
what
was
am I going to do if a player falls?
That was a legitimate reaction. And I think that's what made it even more alarming. You see him go down, but seeing his reaction because he's there at the stadium, you immediately like, what did he see that we didn't see? Is it worse? And then that's why I'm saying that his call, it just kind of made it even more until you see Freddie pop up and be like,
and then he's
I'm
like
okay.
standing there, but he's like got his arms in front of him the whole time, and he will stand like that sometimes. But like, I'm like, is he standing like that because he's hurt and he's just trying to get through this inning? Like, why is he not leaving? And then it's like, okay, now I have a million questions. And then through that, this happened to him about 10 years ago on the Braves. And so now that clip is making the rounds again where he fell into the dugout, and that one had chairs. So even seeing that one, like he hit the chairs, ricocheted off, like his body bent in ways like it was, that fall was almost worse than this one, just the way that it looked. But it's like, I don't know what we do. Like, but we got to put him in bubble wrap. Like, he's going to go chasing those foul balls. We need to figure out a way to like protect him from his own visitors dugout, because there just weren't enough people there to help prevent it. And you saw the clips afterwards where everybody's like, wow, the Royals really did a great job trying to catch him. And it's like, okay, first of all, nobody was at that side of the dugout. Nobody tried to not catch him. But you did see the guys at the side of the frame and they're like, oh, and totally miss him. And it's like, what were two guys going to do? They're not going to break the fall of Freddie Freeman. So
well, and that's the second question that I
and
had
nobody was expecting it either. So
that was the second question for, because the two closest people to that dugout, I mean, to Federico on that side of the dugout for the Royals, were the trainers. They were the trainers, and I agree with you. I don't know that they were close enough to break his fall. I don't know if they even anticipated that he was going to fall. Now here is the debate. I was talking about it with my father.
Gosh.
and I've heard this, and I've heard about this with other people. So that's why I want to ask you for your reaction to this. There have been people that have told me that they said, all right, whatever, they're not going to break his fall, or because of this unwritten rule of this is the opposing team and you don't help the other team. So they're like, okay, you don't necessarily need to catch him or break his fall, but should they have at least like yelled at him and said, no rail, no rail. Hey, you're at the step.
How do you know that they're not yelling that though?
And that was my thing, was like, I don't know that we didn't know that. Sua Cravens, now this is in a different sport. Sua Cravens is a former NFL player. And he said, and this is going back to the unwritten rules again, it's like, no, you don't help. And nobody in that team, in that Royals dugout, did anything wrong. That is the opposing team. So, I mean, luckily it was just he was sore. But if something really bad happened to Federico, where do you stand on this? I mean, shouldn't there is competition, but shouldn't a player's health take priority over that, Amie?
So here's the thing. There's a lot of speculation involved in this. And this is one of the things where I feel like baseball could afford to change.
Where's the speculation? I mean,
you don't know what nobody knows that they didn't. Did they interview those guys and those guys were like, yeah, we weren't competition. We're not going to touch him. Did they actually say that?
No, but I think if you see someone coming to the dugout,
okay,
like if he was coming towards the Dodgers dugout, there would have been an army of people waiting there for him to catch him. So my thing is this, is I want to hear your opinion.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to. Okay.
Should their Royals at least have made more of an effort to try to catch him as they saw him go to the dugout?
A couple of things. So this happened in a split second. It's one
Right.
thing if you're falling into the Dodgers dugout where everybody is spread, like there is not a lick of space where there's not a player in the Dodgers dugout. So that's a different mentality, I think. You can't really compare apples to oranges on each side. We could clearly see there was nobody on the Royals side of the dugout. It would be different if they had more time and they're like, "Oh man, one of these foul balls, Freddie could fall in the dugout." And then you actively see people not going to that side, sure, but what are they supposed to do? They don't know that he's going to fall. They're all just supposed to run in a split second. You brought up Steven Nelson's call. Like, he's supposed to be a professional, and this is not a dig at Steven Nelson. This is more as an example. If he's supposed to be a professional, then he should never have made the call the way that he did, because he should have been able to stop himself. But it happened in a split second, and he reacted. It happened in a split second for those guys. Who thought he would actually fall into the dugout? I'm sure if they had known that was going to happen, this is where I think the game needs to change. I don't think anybody's like, "Oh, competition, we're not going to touch him." I think as a human, if they knew that was going to happen, they're going to go over there and they're going to try to stop it. And I think that's where some of these speculative debates need to stop, because while you may be speculating, some people on the internet are throwing shade at those people. And that, to me, that's unnecessary. Like, a human is a human. If somebody's going to fall, or if it's just like, "Oh, I don't want to help him catch the ball," and it's maybe like not putting an arm up and he catches himself on the rail, that's one thing. This was a full-on body fall. I don't think anybody was maliciously trying to like hold on to competition as a reason that nobody caught somebody in a split second when they fell.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I just don't understand is how bracing somebody from a fall is helping them catch the ball. Because even let's say if Federico had a chance, he could have dropped the ball once he was started falling. There was no guarantee he was going to make the catch. So
That's why I think this is just a BS. Like, it's people trying to blame somebody for something that doesn't need blame. We don't need to always find the source of a problem or make up a problem. He fell. He unfortunately fell in the part of the dugout that had no one there. Like, why are we trying to blame somebody retroactively? Like, for what?
Well, I do think it is, whether it's right or wrong, I do think it's a legitimate belief that teams have that you don't help the other team on foul balls that are coming towards the dugout.
And that's where the game needs to change. It's BS. Why would you not help another human not get hurt?
That's I agree with you in that sense, where I just don't understand how it helps. Like, if you just tell them, "Hey, there's no rail there," and because it seemed like Federico thought there was one, that he was going to hit a rail and that was going to brace him, but he went to a spot that specifically had no rail, and the next thing you know, he sounded like Goofy falling off the cliff. Where it's like, whoa.
And he even said he did not realize there was no rail there. So that's where I think we're entering the realm of speculation of like, those guys could have said this. How do you know they didn't? How do you know they didn't try it? Like, you
didn't see the telecast, so I can't hold you to this. But when I was watching the telecast, we don't know what was said, but Federico was talking to the Royals dugout when they got him back up. So I don't know if people were saying to, hey man, are you okay? And he was explaining to him, "Man, I thought there was a rail there and there wasn't a rail," or anything like that. Or if he was saying to them, "Hey, why didn't anybody give me a heads up?" Like, we don't know what was said, and they didn't share any of that.
Okay, but it's also Freddie, like, knowing the character of the guy, like, and this is why I hate the speculation, because like, it was a moment, it happened, like, it's over. Like, it would be different if like the bench is cleared because he said whatever you did in the latter example and they took exception to that. But like, you saw him like talking and smiling to the guy on first base also, or I think there was somebody on first at that point who was on the Royals. And it's like, this is like, people are just, they're being like chismosos and chismosas. Like, it happened. Like it's not this big production, and people who want to build it up and add a narrative like that, unless Freddie comes out and says that's the case, to me that's like where it's a non-issue. We shouldn't be putting stuff like that out, because again, going back to like baseball is my refuge, unless Freddie says there was an issue, like it's a non-issue to me, and he doesn't seem like that kind of person, at least from what we know.
Do you have anything else on the Royals series?
I don't think so. No. I mean, we won it, which was good. We'll take it.
They ended up sweeping the Royals and then started a 4-game series against the Cerveceros. Mm-hmm. So what were your takeaways from the Milwaukee series?
That social media is really, really upset right now. I mean, obviously, like we've been saying, nobody wants to lose, but this is a really good team. The Brewers are doing really well right now. And the fact that we already know that the Dodgers are having some issues, the fact that they won a game, to me, it's as good as it's going to get for this series. We can't go back in time and fix it, but it's kind of on par with what we've been seeing. So, you know, they did their best, but they couldn't pull it out. And I mean, there was even a question, I think my boss asked Dave Roberts on Saturday, like, what did you do when you went through slumps in your career? And he was like, I didn't go through slumps. I would bunt my way onto a base. Obviously, that's not the tack everybody's taking. And we're seeing like the bunting isn't going to fix the pitching or the bullpen or whatever. That only, you know, the question was to him as a player, but like it goes beyond that. But they're trying to get out of it. They're playing their hardest. And these were pretty close games for the most part.
He did say, though, however, he wanted them to have a better approach at the plate and have better at bats. And that to me is like, yes, that was part of Dave Roberts' game, that he had bunting as a part of his game. Not everyone in that Dodgers lineup has that tool that they can use. So
they still practice it before games. Like you'll see them taking BP like on the weekend. You'll see like a couple of the first hits that they all take. They all practice like bunting out there, and you know, but I don't.
Dave Roberts in his day could bunt for a hit. Max Muncy is not going to bunt for a hit. You know, there's a lot of guys. Andy Pages is not going to bunt for a hit. There's just
Miguel Rojas, maybe. Yes.
And that's what I mean by they don't have that tool. So like, I understand, like, in a way, when you have those kind of tools, you can become a little bit slump proof, because when you're not hitting the ball, okay, I can use this to get on, but not everybody has that tool. So,
and that's why it's unique to Dave Roberts' experience. But it was kind of like, you know, you're trying to get insight into a player's mindset, and it's like that was his mindset. Like, I didn't go through slumps. I bunted to get on base, and so I'm sure they all have that. Like, if you were to ask each player, like, nobody wants to go through a slump. Like, okay, well, everybody's tactic might be a little bit different, and you see them all doing their best out there. And I know nobody likes to hear that. People will like in the, oh, it's T-ball, like whatever, everybody gets a trophy, but they are doing their best out there. Nobody's trying to lose these games. I think what we can take from these series is where they are playing well. And, you know, at least they're not getting blown out every single night. I mean, you take your positives where you can get them.
You take the good, you take the bad.
The facts of life.
There we go. Thank you. All right. 2 shows nightly at the Pacoima Hilton, everybody.
I know that people have a lot of issues with how a lot of these games went from a lot of different fronts. Like there's no way around it. It wasn't pretty, but I feel like you still see this team come together to try to get through it. So whether it's, you know, I was stoked to see like Rortvet and Fiducia, like they're catching people stealing a lot more often. Kike's getting some playing time, so, you know, that makes me happy. So getting to see him, like, I think in Thursday's game, he got shuffled around quite a bit. He had a really great play at third. He had a great play in the outfield. So you see people contributing. Diaz had kind of a rocky game on that Thursday night, but that's, you know, not great. You know, it didn't go so well again on Friday, but they at least managed to win it while we were all kind of clenching. I mean, he hit a pitcher, he walked 2 of them. Kike went up to the mound and, but this is, I think, symbolic of what I love about baseball. He tells Diaz, keep going. You're the best pitcher in the world. Keep going. We got you. Like, this is a team that they're not happy with how it's going, but they're still supporting each other and picking them up. And that's what, that's how me and my friends gel in our life. And so it's nice to see that play out in baseball too, like the humanity of it. Does anybody like clenching? No, but here we are.
Breaking news, Edwin Diaz has been placed on the IL at the time that we are recording this, which is, what day
are we on?
Tuesday. Today is Tuesday at the time we are recording this.
Welcome to this week, Juan. And what they're saying with that is, like, they initially said it's neck inflammation. They're going to do more imaging. But ultimately, it sounds like they brought him back too soon. So.
Yeah, well, I just think it's one of those things you just never know with injuries. So that's why when everybody earlier was saying, "Oh, we're going to get this person back, we're going to get that person back," you just never know. You can't just assume that somebody coming back from an injury is going to just be what they were before. I just think there's no guarantee that that's going to be the case.
Well, and I think the stuff that they're going through, like the loose bodies in their elbows, like that's, like, this is a fairly new procedure, being able to have them return so quickly. So whether it's, Snell, it's Diaz, it's I think Skubal even now at this point, like, we're kind of seeing it play out in real time. And so Diaz is like, he might be the first casualty of it. And I don't mean casualty like he'll be out all season, but like he might need a little bit more time to marinate before they put him back on the field. Or if you do bring him back earlier, I know that Doc was dead set prior to today for him being the closer and he was going to ride or die with him. But when the results show this and the race is so tight just to get that second bye, at some point we can't pull what we did last year where we're kind of just trying to write it out and you're continuing to lose games and blow saves. At that point, like, you either make him a setup man, he takes another ride on the IL while you figure it out, or, or we continue into the definition of insanity and keep, hope he does better out there.
Well, Jerry Hairston said this on the post-game show. He referenced another former leaguer, a major leaguer, but did not provide their name. They felt that Edwin Diaz's issue is not necessarily the loose bodies, it's mechanics. And in particular, his arm release. Now, if he has an issue with his neck, that's going to affect where his arm is and where it's releasing. Now, did he feel, like you said, that maybe they brought him back too soon? Did he feel pressure that he needed to come back because of his contract, because of the state of the bullpen? And I mean, we don't know that, I mean, we've seen it before, Tony Gonsolin basically sacrificed his career, right? Because the team needed him and he pitched hurt. So it's like, we won't know these things, unfortunately, until later on, because a lot of these guys don't want to use this stuff as excuses.
Well, and I think it goes even deeper than that, though. Like, there has to be endemic changes in the game, because we hear about this so often. Well, why didn't you say something? Well, I didn't want to give up my spot. I didn't want to whatever. And so potentially, like, you don't solve it right now, but long term, how do you look at making sure that, your players feel safe enough to tell you this stuff and that they have a place to come back to? As we've seen, we talk about it all the time. Like, that's how some players get their start. Fernando Valenzuela, all these other guys, like, somebody went down and they got the call up and then they ended up staying up. And that's the fear that most guys have. And I think you brought it up last week, or I was listening to it on something, but like, these guys spend so many years in the minor leagues and it's like, okay, well, I finally got my shot. I can't lose it. And if I admit to this right now, what position am I putting myself in with the team? Like that, there has to be like a give get in that situation to give them the motivation to report it, but also not be afraid of it too.
There's been too many examples of it, Amy. I mean, you're
just on the Dodgers alone.
Exactly. Kike Hernandez played a whole year with a hernia.
He just did it again earlier. This, like, the day he came back, before the game even, he injured his oblique, played in that game, played in the second game, admitted it in the third, midway through the third game. But he was playing hurt all 3 days because he didn't, like there has to be a better long-term solution. And but the game has to change. And that's where I think the game is changing in some ways that people don't like the pitch clock, the runner on set. Like there's a lot of things that are changing about the game that traditionalists hate. But I think there are some things that we do need to look at the game evolving over time. And is this something that will help players in the long run? But how do you come up with a long-term solution like that?
We shall see. What else do you have from the Cervecero series?
We got to see Mizorowski. He pitched against Robleski, so it was the ski game on Saturday, as some people were terming
it.
To
me was my favorite part of that whole series, was watching that guy pitch. The first 4 pitches of the game were 104 miles per hour.
Yeah,
and then 4 miles per hour. It was insane.
It was amazing to watch. Unfortunately, as we know, Robleski is now on the IL getting some attention. But we even saw in the morning on Saturday, as you remember, all the players, you have all the pitchers in the corner by the bullpen. You've got all the other players doing taking grounders on the field. And then you see who's this tall guy jogging over to the pitchers? And it's Mizorowski. And he went over there to go chat with Roki Sasaki while he was stretching. Him, his interpreter, and Mizorowski were all just chatting, talking about pitches. And then he runs off back across the field. And I know, talking about competition and stuff, I know there are people who are oh, they should not be talking or fraternizing before the game. It's well, Mizorowski wasn't pitching that day. And, these guys all know each other. I feel like people take that for granted, that, while they're on different teams, they may not have played together, but they're all in this fraternity. At the end of the day, these guys are friendly. So, to me, it was refreshing to seeing them kind of interacting. And, and then Skubal went in and pitched on Sunday.
What else do you got?
Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Obviously we know how the series went, so,
So on Thursday, before this whole series with the Cervecero started, Orel Hershiser got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
He did.
And he is not the first athlete to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And for those of you who aren't familiar on how this works, is somebody has to pay for that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I did not know that. Wow.
A lot of the times, because when people wonder and been like, wait, how does this person not have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? A lot of those stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame have been brought up from fan clubs. Fan clubs will raise the money together to get the person a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And technically, Orel Hershiser gets his star because he's a television star, because he is a broadcaster. But there was, I don't know if I know Spectrum Sportsnet LA went ahead and showed the ceremony. I was surprised at the number of people, former athletes of teammates of his that were there. Clayton Kershaw was there. Did you get a chance to watch any of this, Amie?
So I saw the media feed later. Not gonna lie, I couldn't get the time off of work to go cover it, but I really wanted to be there, just getting to see it in a journalistic capacity. But even just seeing the media feed, Bob Costas was the MC, Clayton Kershaw was the first speaker, kind of talking about him being a mentor. You had Joe Davis sharing personal stories, because we all know about the athlete and some of the other facets of his life. But just talking about what a huge impact he was, and even to that point that his son's middle name is Orel. And then I really loved Dave Roberts' speech. He was talking about the synergy and the parallel to everybody in the world. They come to LA, they bet on themselves, and that Orel was always the underdog in the draft until Lasorda kind of looked at him, and he went from being an underdog to being a bulldog. And he had said people believe in Orel, but he bet on himself. He was a great teammate and he made people better. And he said that, as being the manager of the team, Dave Roberts, when they go through slumps, his phone goes silent. And he was saying that outside of his family, his phone might ring, but also Orel will message him and he'll always be like, Doc, it's going to be okay. And it was just those personal touches to hear that and then you hear Orel's speech, you hear him get choked up, and he said, there's one name on the star, there could be hundreds, life is a team sport, if I could put one more word on that star above my name, it would be Dodger. And then he said, so how did I get here? I didn't, we all did. And I'm watching it and I'm like, just totally like tearing up, and it's beautiful. He's such a humble person, and like so deserving of something like this, and got to kind of congratulate him on Sunday, and again, he just deflects, and he's so humble about the whole thing, and I think that's a part of who he is and what makes him so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, again, the turnout for it would just it really surprised me. It speaks volumes, I think, when people will come out there for that. There was another legend that was actually honored this past weekend, and I think you were there for this one, correct?
I was, yeah. So Reggie Smith got inducted into the Legends of Dodger Baseball. So he got his little blue baseball jacket with the LA on it. So now he'll join some of his other compatriots. So like Steve Garvey, Dusty Baker. There were a lot of people there. Like they had a couple rows of guys, and a couple people came and talked. But like we also got to interview him before he went out on the field, and he was just perfect gentleman. Just talking about his career, how much all of this meant to him. I even got to ask him a question, and I was like, oh my God, don't mess this up. But just like asking him, like, as he's going out, like what, like of all the memories in his career, like what is he taking with him? And he basically said that like Jackie Robinson was his childhood hero, and while Jackie didn't get to play at Dodger Stadium, that was the first place that Reggie got to meet him, and so like that memory meant a lot, and he would be taking that out on the field, and just all the people that he helped with his academy, and just passing on, like he had a high baseball IQ, and just making sure he shared that over the years. Like he just sounds, I didn't get to watch him play, but like he sounds like an amazing player.
Yeah, and this is why, again, Amie, I feel like, okay, we don't need to put everybody into the Hall of Fame, and that we can talk about players being good and not have, there's nothing wrong with, okay, they're not a Hall of Famer or anything like that. Like,
and he didn't make it into the circle, so it's not like the circle of like people that are up on the left, the Ring of Honor, but he's still inducted into the Legends. It's still another way to honor him.
Look, he had a career. I mean, he was a 7-time All-Star. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about, in the sense that, yeah, he's not a household name. People don't talk about Reggie Smith the way they talk about other Dodgers or even other major leaguers right now. But he was a 7-time All-Star. He has a lifetime batting average of 287. He has over 300 home runs and over 2,000 hits. Amie,
over 7,000 at bats. Ugh.
I mean, I would love to have that career in Major League Baseball. He played 17 years in Major League Baseball. Like,
and the way that people talked about him, because they always have the highlight reel before they do anything, and it's like, why is his name not more well known? Like, I'm not saying he, like you said, he needs to be like a Hall of Famer, but based on like what he accomplished, how they outlined all of the things that he did, how do we not know more about his name? Like, I don't understand.
And that's why I feel like the Legends of Dodger Baseball serves its purpose there. And the fact that they inducted him on there, that's what causes these conversations, right? Where we can talk about Reggie Smith, and we can talk about, oh, hey, this guy was actually a pretty good player. Okay, yeah, whatever. He wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he's still a very good player. And there's a lot of players like that we can talk about, because we mentioned it earlier about Max Muncy. I think Max Muncy eventually is going to be in part of the Legends of Dodger Baseball. Is Max Muncy going to go into the Hall of Fame? No, he's not going to go into the Hall of Fame. But if you're a Dodger fan, you're going to speak very highly of Max Muncy, and you're going to be able to tell your kids or people younger who didn't get to see Max Muncy play and say how great Max Muncy was of a ball player.
look at the impact he made on the team. And there, even just when people were talking about, like, I didn't even realize he had, like, because of all of the baseball knowledge and his way to be able to communicate it with people, like, he had, like, I think it was a baseball academy, I don't remember the name, but, like, so many people came through. Like, one of the guys, it's one of the coaches, and I don't remember his full name, but I think it's Petey is one of the guys. And when he was younger, Reggie Smith had asked him, like, hey, are you going to come to, to my academy to, to learn and whatever? And he's like, I can't afford to do that. And, like, me and my boss are, like, full on crying in the press box. And he's like, all right, I'll make a deal with you. You come work, you pay it forward, come to the academy. And he had such a close relationship with him. And it's all because of that compassion and that humanity. Like, he didn't have the money to go, but he made a way for this young person who now is still having an impact on baseball and the Dodgers. He's one of the coaching staff there, the training staff. And it's just like those little things where you touch people's lives and it ripples out. Like, yes, baseball is amazing and he had a great career there, but look at all the other ways that he still managed to touch people's lives through the years. That it's awesome in the way that awe should be used.
Well, it's interesting to me because whenever they do the Legends of Dodger Baseball, I'm always curious as to who's next, who's going to go in. Because when they first started doing this, and the first year they started doing this was in 2019, they inducted 3 people that year. And then the next year they inducted 2 people. And then after that, it's been 1 person per year. So
I think they don't want to water it down, maybe, like, to your concern over the Hall of Fame. Maybe they want to have it, like, really showcase somebody.
But I am curious as to who's next. Because now and usually, I mean, there's a very rare example, and that is Fernando Valenzuela is the only one who is in the Legends of Dodger Baseball and who is also has his number retired in the Ring of Honor. Usually it's 2 separate recognitions, so there isn't much overlap on it. But right now in the Legends of Dodger Baseball, there's Don Newcomb, there's Steve Garvey, there's Fernando Valenzuela, Maury Wills, Kirk Gibson, Manny Mota, Orel Hershiser, Dusty Baker, and Ron Say, and then this year Reggie Smith. Now, I'm always curious if when they make these decisions, are they doing it? They want a living member to be inducted on there. Because
did you get to see the speeches and everything? Did they broadcast that?
The Reggie Smith, yeah, it was on. I did not watch it, but Spectrum Sportsnet LA did, and I'm sure it'll show up on a Backstage Dodgers.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is towards the end of his speech, he did make a plea that posthumously could they include his roommate Davey Lopes,
and that was going to be my question, because right now it seems like they're going through the 70s, early 80s phase.
They're like,
and it's funny that you brought up Davey Lopes, because then the other person that I thought of was Bill Russell. And if you put in Lopes and you put in Bill Russell, you're basically putting in the famous infield.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm curious to see, will they do it, or do they just want living members so they can be there for the ceremony, so they can give the speech? So I am curious as to what they'll do next. And then going into the 90s, there is one name that is very troublesome that I don't know if they're ever going to go there, and I'm very curious to hear fans' opinion on this, is Mike Piazza. Now, Mike Piazza is a Hall of Famer, and technically people would say his number should be retired in the circle, in the Ring of Honor. But we all know how that ended, and we all know the things that he has said. And I know Dave S.A. is trying to broker the peace between Mike Piazza and the Dodgers. I mean, there is this belief, I don't know if this is confirmed, that they've tried bringing him back just to even like throw out a first pitch, but he refuses to do it because he's afraid of the reaction that he's going to get from Dodger fans. And I don't know, Amy. I've seen.
Why don't you remind some of us of why that would be?
So part of it is when Mike Piazza, and this kind of led to Mike Piazza being traded from the Dodgers, was his contract negotiation. His contract was going to be up, and I don't think he was negotiating through the media, but he thought that Vin Scully took a shot at him for trying to negotiate his deal. And he criticized Vin Scully for that. And Dodger fans don't take too kindly to you criticizing Vin Scully. And so I think a lot of Dodger fans, older Dodger fans, and this is why I think, Amie, maybe we will reach a point where he'll be okay to come back to Dodger Stadium, because sooner or later there's going to be fans who aren't familiar with Vin Scully, aren't going to love Vin Scully the way some of these older fans are.
It's already starting to happen, and it hurts.
Yeah. And I've seen Dodger fans rocking the throwback Mike Piazza Dodger jersey. And so I know, and when people talk about greatest Dodgers, he shows up on that list. So I am very curious if it is like one of those, well, we want to make sure the person is here. If they extend it, if they're not going to retire his number, will they induct him into the Legends of Dodger Baseball, and will he do it? But I mean, there's other names even before, still from the 80s. I mean, would Steve Sachs be considered one? Would Mike Scioscia ever be considered for the Legends of Dodger Baseball? A personal favorite of mine, Pedro Guerrero, I would love to see in the Legends of Dodger Baseball. And that's
it depends on
from the 80s.
I think it depends on their criteria, and I don't necessarily know what they're using to base their induction on. Like, what is the criteria that they're using? I mean, and we know that there are plenty of players, I mean, Fernando included, who split with the Dodgers, not always on good terms, and some have found their way back. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, so we'll see, but this is a great honor for Reggie Smith, and if anything, it gives us the opportunity to talk about Reggie Smith and to talk about his career, because I'm telling you, I mean, I would love to have his career. I mean, over 2,000 hits, over 300 home runs, and you hit 287. Shouts out to my compadre, who, you know, it's 7 points above good.
So, and such a delightful human too. Like, in a world where we just have, in some cases, some days it feels like not a lot of positivity, when you can meet like good humans, like you have the Orel Hershisers, you have the Reggie Smiths, like it's nice. And it was nice to honor him, whether people in the stands recognized that, you know, that's what was happening. I think they did a really good job with the ceremony, and I felt for everybody out there, because it was baking hot, and it took a minute to get everything all like kind of done, corralled, the stage and everything, and it was just like, oh my god, these people are just baking out there, everybody, and all of the legends are in their like jackets. I'm just like, oh god, you're gonna have to get those dry cleaned.
I do like the jackets. I think that is cool that they give them the jackets.
Maybe we need to get us some BSLA jackets.
There we go. The Legends of BSLA. Recognizing another legend, and people will sit there and debate, right? I mean, it's like, is he really a legend? Is he a legend more for on the field accomplishments or off the field?
Why can't it be C, all of the above?
Well, and that's what I was going to say, Amie, is maybe that is what it should be. And of course, what we're talking about, Tommy John just passed away this past week. And I don't think you can have the conversation about Major League Baseball without including Tommy John. Tommy John played Major League Baseball for 26 years. He played for the Yankees. I think the two teams he's most closely associated with are the Yankees and the Dodgers. I saw Tommy John towards the end of his career, but he played 8 years with the Yankees. He played 6 years, with the Dodgers. Now, briefly, just to focus in terms of his accomplishments as a player, he was very close to winning 300 games. Oh. And maybe, we're not giving him enough credit as a pitcher. He was a 4-time All-Star. He won 200.
Who's we? I think he's amazing.
he won 288 games. Now, the thing is he also, this is the whole argument with longevity, right? Where if you play long enough, you're going to put up the numbers. But his ERA was 3 point, this is his career ERA was 3.34. So I as a player, he was pretty accomplished. But Amie, here's my question to you. The surgery that was named after him, has the surgery trumped his playing career? Like, is that a greater accomplishment? Because I don't think this is spoken of enough, and that is that Tommy John had the courage to do this surgery. And as a matter of fact, he was the one who identified Frank Jobe. He was the one who proposed, hey, is there, I mean, we do heart transplants, we do organ transplants. What if we took a ligament from somewhere else and put it where my arm is? Like, I think he should get a lot of credit for having the courage to be like, give me a surgery, and a completely unproven surgery that I don't know is going to happen. What's going to happen?
And so he passed away on Saturday. There was a moment of silence before the game on Sunday, and then they went through some of the highlights, and that was mentioned. I think what's amazing, and I'll get back to your question in a second, is that after he had this surgery, he pitched for 14 more years. So the fact that this was uncharted territory, he
actually pitched longer, Amie, after the surgery than before.
Yes. And so not only was this surgery pioneered like in this circumstance, but like he went on to have an amazing career. It wasn't even just like, oh, that's like, his career was kind of after he got the surgery, like he did really well. So I think it depends on who you talk to, because I think that's subjective. To me, I think his career and the surgery are both worthy of recognition, independent of each other. Like, I think it's one of those gray areas where it doesn't have to be all or nothing. But if you talk to, Joe Schmo on the street, maybe he's like, oh no, the surgery, like that's the defining thing. That's where it's subjective for everybody. But I think if us as baseball fans, like, we kind of open our trying to like be more open-minded, like I think it can be all of that. Like, the fact that it was scary, I think that was part of the highlight from this weekend. Was, I think he said something along the lines of like, well, I'm not going to pitch anyway, like what do I have to lose? Like, don't quote me on that, like that's like paraphrasing, but truly, what did he have to lose at that point? And instead he got 14 more years. So like, kudos to just the bravery that it took to do that. And now, like, Jeff Passan has been on, I think it's All the Smoke, that podcast. I keep seeing the reels pop up on my IG, but they're talking about like, how do we identify the issues with pitching and why people are having the surgery so much younger. There's somebody that I know, a family friend of a friend, they're in college and they just had their first Tommy John surgery. Like, the fact that it has now become so common that not only to have one, but like, hey, let's get your starter Tommy John surgery out of the way when you're young. And then by the time you make it to the bigs, you might have the second one, and hopefully, your career still rebounds. Like, they even have an exhibit at the Hall of Fame with a little video showing you how the whole thing happens based on the work that him and Dr. Frank Jobe did. So I think it's amazing on and off the field. I think he was an amazing man. He deserves to be remembered. I never got to see him play, but he did come to the stadium several times when they would have like the alumni come. So you would see him out there, and, you never want to lose any of these guys, because I think there's just so much baseball history wrapped up in each of them, whether it's their accomplishments, again, on and off the field, and just what they mean to the game.
Yeah. Since we're in the spirit of honoring legends, I do want to briefly discuss the Field of Dream games game that took place this week. I know you didn't watch it, but did you watch the beginning of it?
I saw clips of it. Honestly, like, I have been schedule-wise jam-packed for the last like couple of weeks, but I did notice, before we get into like the beautiful parts of it, I think there were a couple of people posting on social media about how like Field of Dreams, it's akin to Shoeless Joe Jackson, and then you have all of these betting ads on the back of the field, and it's like, oh, the irony, like he got kicked out of baseball for allegedly not even really doing anything, and here we are X amount, almost 100 or so years later, and FanDuel and whatever.
There's a lot of problematic aspects of it, but if we just deal with
coming out of the cornfield, so just how do you not get chills? I think
I
did
still
you see
think it's cool.
our friend Desert Doyer had posted himself in a cornfield getting lost, and then obviously he didn't make it to the Field of Dreams.
No, I missed that one.
If you get a chance, go to Desert Doyer's page and check out.
I think it's cool that they had the Hall of Famers coming out of there. That I think is still cool. I think the whole idea of having a game in that field, I think it's cool. I think what sucks is that, and I think maybe this might have happened with the All-Star, well, not with the All-Star game, but I think the fact that it was on Netflix, people just completely forgot about it, and it just
or
seems,
I'll catch it's on Netflix. I'll catch it later.
Yeah, so that's one of those things where I wish they would just do a better job of kind of promoting it, because I do think it's fun. I mean, baseball is about history, and so acknowledging this and then mixing it in with movies, I'm a sucker for it. I like it, and so I just wish that I don't know, that they would find a better way of promoting it and putting it on Netflix. It was one of those things where it's like, wait, where's the game on again? Oh, that's right, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. So. I think the fact that it's behind a paywall of something that you don't typically associate with baseball is problematic in finding it in the first place. And then depending on like where you're seeing it advertised, like I didn't see too much. Like if you're on the MLB app, sure, you might see some of the advertisements, but not everybody's even on there. Like I'm friends with people who are like, they're not fanatics like we are, obviously, but like they don't even log into their MLB app. And I'm like, you don't look at game day? And they're like, no, not really. Like I'll just get the score like off the internet or whatever. And I'm like, huh. But if that's one of the main places that you're advertising and you're thinking that you're going to snag so many fans, not everybody uses the MLB app. So where else are you advertising to make sure that it's known so that you do get the eyes on this and you continue to grow the game?
Yeah, I think that's valid, Amy. I think also the issue was a lot of the promotion, that at least that I saw that was sent my way, was pretty late. It was maybe like 100%. A day before. Like
there was no lead up. It was like, oh hey, by the way, Like,
exactly. So that
I already have plans for Thursday. Like I can't watch this game right now.
So that's really, I think, my issue with it. It's the promotion of it and making it accessible so everyone can see it, because I do think it's a cool event. It's a cool event, and I mean they're still going to do it, which is good. So hopefully they'll listen and maybe make it better for next time. But I think it's cool.
The challenge, I mean, it's definitely cool. And like I said, when I get a split second to breathe, I will be going back and watching it. But I think the other part is when you have these new streaming services coming in that are not necessarily associated with sports as much as like ESPN, Fox, all these other things where like, okay, I know I'm going to have to either have a subscription or I'm going to go to a bar or a place outside that will have that. Not every bar or brewery that you go to is going to necessarily have Netflix as one of their streaming services. So now you've also taken that community aspect away of where like, I'll just go to the local sports bar. Well, no, like they're not going to pull up their Netflix to show me the Field of Dreams game. So like, again, like making some of this, like, is there an alternative? Like, yes, Netflix wants to get their cash on this, but is there also an alternative where people can still continue to see it and be out in the world if they can't afford a subscription?
Absolutely. A couple more stories before we wrap things up. There was a story that actually, this was on the local CBS News affiliate in terms of, did you get a chance? I know I sent this to you pretty late, so I don't know if you got a chance to see, discussing the women that cover the Dodgers, the beat writers that cover the Dodgers.
So I saw the clip. I didn't get to see the actual like hunt down the story, which I do want to do. The women that they covered, like they're amazing women. And as the story that you sent me mentioned, Jill Pinter Lopez is the one who interviewed them, but it's the ones that are basically traveling with the team, which is typically what beat writers do. We've had Jack Harris, Fabian Ardaya for years, Bill Plunkett, the names that we're used to, but now we have also Sonia Chen, who represents MLB. You've got Maddie Lee from the LA Times, and then Katie Wu of The Athletic. And Sonia has been covering them, I want to say, since last year. And then Maddie and Katie, I met Maddie in spring training, and then Katie also came in around that time. So they're now covering the team. So while we still have a long way to go for women, like in sports and journalism, it's so nice to see more women in these roles that are very front facing, where people are getting their news from them on a regular basis.
I want to include my partner. I know my partner doesn't travel with the team to cover them on the road, but you are a part of this. You cover the team, when they're here at home, and you just said it. I know it counts as strides, and there's still a lot of room for improvement. In terms of what you've seen, is it heading in the right direction? Because I feel like, in particular, at least Katie Wu is breaking a lot of stories. Like,
Mhm.
she is. The guys that you just mentioned, Jack Harris and Fabiana Ardaya, are getting scooped by her. And I know that Fabian works for The Athletic, as also the same company that Katie works for. But
and they collaborate a lot on stories too. You'll see.
Are we making the progress where it's especially with the growth of the WPL, like that? This is no longer, it shouldn't be surprising.
Oh no, I think we still have a long way to go on that. Mainly because I think because they are backed by bigger companies, they get to use their voice. But I still think women still get a lot of trash thrown their way. Like, even with the Women's Professional Baseball League, all I saw for the first week was just negativity thrown their way, unless you were in like some of the forums that were like actively celebrating the league. People knocking down the announcer. Like, there's still so much negativity, and just because they're women. I've heard let's be clear. I don't think anybody should get negativity thrown their way. If you don't like listening to them, then go find the broadcast on the other side. These are the people that we have right now. But there have been men who are not as qualified, who do stuff, and I don't feel like they get as much flack sent their way. And if the main qualifier is, oh, well, you're a woman and we don't think you should be here, we do still have a long way to go. But to your point, we definitely are making strides. The fact that when I first started covering the team, I was covering only on Sundays, and I would sometimes be the only woman there outside of Kirsten Watson. And then we're starting to see more and more, especially with Japanese media. But I mean, I only cover the home games on the weekends, which sometimes is a lot. But we are making strides, but I don't want people to mistake that for like, oh, well, we're done. Like, we still have a long way to go, because we are still gatekept out of this sport, and we are still made to feel not welcome on a regular basis. We just have to power through. And I think that's unfortunate when this is a sport for everybody.
I guess a better question that I should have asked you was, how do we measure the progress?
The fact that we have 3 women beat writers, I think, is amazing. I think it's not necessarily the progress there, because you are seeing more women get into like some of those spots in the organization. But as you know, as we've seen, even with Kimming, we haven't really had a women like manager. She was in there for a split second and then kind of got ousted. Like, we still have a long way to go. Like, even the women's broadcasters, again, stride in the right direction. But how much flack do they take every time they're announcing a game? Like, so I don't know how you measure it. I think what needs to change is people's perspectives. Like, just accept that we're all humans and we love the sport. Like, why does anybody have to knock anybody down or keep them from doing something that they love? And so there's really no metric for that. We just need to keep showing up. And I think I've mentioned that on this show. It's hard sometimes. My schedule is exhausting. I work a full-time job. And then homestands, I work on the weekend all day long. And then we do this show, which involves a lot of prep. So it's not just coming on the show, it's making sure we watch all the games, keep up on the stories, get our notes. There are days where I want to quit all of it and just be a fan. But I think this is important work we're doing, even with our 5 listeners. Whether it's me
Shouts
as a
out to the
woman,
5 listeners.
Yeah, 5 listeners. But even me as a woman or us as, Latinos covering the sport, this is so important. And so you just keep moving forward no matter what. But I don't think there's a metric. I think it's once there's equality, and I don't think we have that fully yet.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap things up.
You're like, all right, so
look, and this is gonna. I mean, please check me on this. I feel like you should be given the floor on this, and it's more about me listening and
thank you.
you talking. I mean, I think there's no better example of like what's going on with right now the WNBA and the attacks that they are dealing with. I think are despicable. I think they're absolutely shameful. And it's why? Because that league is starting to show some level of success. And immediately, it feels like people who were never paying attention to it before are now sticking their nose into it. And so for me, the if it's a story about women, the voice should be led by women. So
well, thank you. I appreciate you
and you
deferring
did
on
everything
that.
possible that I don't think there's anything I could have added that would have made it better.
Well, and also these are just my opinions. You might talk to somebody else and be like, you know what, these strides are enough. And to me, it's not enough. It's not enough that little girls still don't know that they can do all this stuff, that we don't have enough people out there. But the fact that you have Sonia, Maddie, Katie showing up every week, or even me, like I've mentioned, I'll stay on the field extra time just so if there's one little girl in the stands who's like, oh my gosh, I could be out there, whether they're seeing those gals, seeing the stuff that they're writing, having their parents talk about them, like that's the important stuff where we do still need to keep moving, because while we have our foot in the door, the equity is not there. And I think we're trending in the right direction, but we still got to keep plowing through, because to your point, people are not making it easy. Like if you don't like it, just ignore it, but they just don't ignore it. So negativity, it's everywhere.
So that's why I wanted to end this show with positivity, and with this particular story. That there was a story that was written by Bill Shaken in the Los Angeles Times about Charley Steiner, and I've said this before on the show. I like to listen to the games on the radio as much as I can, so much to the point where my wife bought me a little transistor radio, and I will listen to the radio broadcast as I'm watching it on TV.
Same.
And so, Charley Steiner was the radio voice for the Dodgers for quite some time, and then the last 3 years, he's been kind of MIA. And for those of you who aren't familiar as to why he's been on MIA, is he was battling cancer, and he beat it, and it was in remission, but the cancer kicked his ass, and in particular, it kicked his spine's ass, where he's been dealing with a lot of pain. And so every once in a while this season, I've heard Charley Steiner on the call, and I'm just like, oh, Steiner's doing it. Because I mean, look, the Dodgers, in terms they have so many announcers just on the TV side, but on the radio side, they also have a lot of announcers. My personal favorite is Tim Neverett. Steven Nelson does the heavy lifting on the radio side, and then there's Charley Steiner. And so whenever I hear Charley Steiner, I'm a little surprised. But this past weekend was and I didn't realize this until later on, but Charley Steiner, when I heard him earlier in the year, was only doing a few innings. He wouldn't do the full game. And
he would swap out with Tim Neverett.
And that was by design, but I also thought it wasn't related to his health, because back when I was a kid in the 80s, Vin Scully would do the first 3 innings of the radio broadcast, and then Ross Porter would come in and do the middle 3 innings. Same thing would happen on the Spanish broadcast where Jaime Jarrin would only do like the first 3 innings. Then someone would come in and do the middle 3 innings, and then Jarrin would come back and finish the game. So I thought maybe the Dodgers were doing that kind of model, but then I realized it was because of Charlie Steiner's health. Because you could hear it in his voice. His voice was still, it wasn't as strong as it was before. But this past weekend, Charlie Steiner did he called his first complete game on the radio. And did you know, Amy, that originally the plan was for him to just do 7 innings?
Yeah, he's been working himself up. I know Bill Shaken mentioned it, but as I've been listening to him over the last several months, it's like, it's like he's building up like a pitcher. And so we get to see him come in periodically as he's heading to the booth, and every time I get to lay eyes on him, I can't stop smiling because you know how much he loves the game, that he is still putting in all the effort to be here to do this. Because I think one of the things in the article called out, like, he is in pain, but he doesn't have to be here, and he's still coming in to call games. And the Dodgers have given him a lot of like leeway of like, come back on your own time. But when he walked in on Saturday and he said he was going to be calling a complete game, like I could not stop grinning. Like, it was so good to see him on his way over, and then you brought up the story, and I was like, oh man, this is so great. Like, he was quoted in the article saying it's nice being back at the park. It's home. And to me, because he looks so happy doing this, like, you can see the pictures, we can see him when he's coming through. Like, this is the part that I mean when I say, like, this game is life. For me, this is my happy place. And he embodies that to me. Like, he embodies that entire ideal. And I could not be happier for him just accomplishing 9 innings, because that's 3 hours sitting in there of, just making calls, thinking on your feet. And if he's in pain and he's enduring that, just to be here to do that, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this story about, look, if he's not your style, if you don't like him, whatever, okay, put that aside. This is really about, this man is 77 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and overcoming cancer to do the thing that he loves, and that is calling a baseball game. And the next goal is to be able to do consecutive baseball games, and who knows how long that'll take and if he'll do it. But it is I think it's such an uplifting story that I really wanted to bring it to attention to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, for me, that's what it is, what that story is about. And look, it's jarring when you see people. I know when I saw Valenzuela towards the end and I saw how much weight he had lost and how he was just withering away, you knew that there was something wrong. You absolutely knew there was something wrong.
But you respected his privacy, and
Exactly.
you just continue to.
And so to see Steiner also, becoming thinner and just not as strong as he was before, and then to see him have this moment, it's one of those things that it's really inspiring. It
Mm-hmm.
makes you, at least it makes me think, if I get to a point like that where I'm challenged in that way, will I have the strength to respond the way that Charlie Steiner did, and have this accomplishment? I mean, it's great. It really is.
And to me, he's one of those voices, especially when I was living up north in Sacramento. Like, sometimes, like, I could still get the games up there. They weren't always blacked out, but sometimes I couldn't. And so I would still, like, or I'd listen to the radio broadcast the next day if I missed a game. And his is the voice that, like, I knew as I was getting back into baseball. Like, he was one of those voices. And I could not be happier for him. Like you said, he's 77 years old and he's doing the thing that makes his heart sing. And kind of like what I said a second ago, like, this stuff, it's hard to find time to do all of this and to life and everything, but this stuff makes me happy. And so I assume for you too, like, you were in the middle of some family stuff, life stuff, like a couple weeks ago, and you still made the time so that we could record in the midst of the trade deadline so that we could get an episode up. And like, these are the things that make my heart sing. And that's also one of the reasons, like, why I love Charlie Steiner, but also I appreciate you, podcast buddy.
And I appreciate you. So that's going to do it for this episode. Any last words, Amy?
I saw the end of Oak Street, End of the World at Oak Street.
Oh yeah, how was that? You've been seeing a couple of movies, haven't you?
I got some recommendations from Eric Steven, and he motivated me to go use my little movie pass. So, it was good. It was not, I mean, he kind of explained the premise. It was not what I was expecting.
It's a dinosaur movie for those of you that are wondering, like, what the hell is the end of Oak Street? What was the other movie that you saw this past week?
One Night Only, which was very interesting. The government outlaw, or I guess mandated celibacy, and
Did
one
you
night
like
a
it?
year.
Because I've heard mixed.
So some people were likening it to, what is the movie? Oh
The
God,
Purge.
The Purge. Yeah, it's like The Purge, but
It's
for
The Purge
like,
for sex.
It's romance.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, if you like rom-coms, it's cute. That, like, there were some parts where I was like, all right, already, we get it. But I mean, for the, like, it was just a different spin on a movie, which is nice, since everything kind of has been quite formulaic lately. So I mean, it was good. It was all right. If you're not a movie person, or I forget how spoiled I am because I have the cheap little movie pass or whatever through Cinemark. So I have like tickets banked. I didn't realize how much movies cost, because I pay my $11.99 a month and like I get my ticket. Movies are like $20 or more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had no idea, and I would be mad if I wasn't paying my discounted rate, because I had people that were talking through the whole movie for Oak Street, and it was just like, this is why I know you don't go to regular movie theaters, and like, I hate it. I thought I lucked out, and I was like, all right, I'm in the little spot.
It even happens at my beloved Frida Cinema, Amy. It even happens. So my wife and I went.
Who the heck are you people who you think you can ruin everybody else who paid to be here?
So my wife and I went to go see E.T. at the Frida Cinema. Now, here again, Amy, you tell me if I'm a horrible person.
Uh-oh.
This woman and her child is a young
Is
child.
it different from the one we saw when we were at Jaws, and the girl was in her backpack and acting a little?
No, because she showed up
we were like,
at the end of the movie. Like, I think
like, are we going to deal with violence here?
Like, Quint, I think, was already dead, and she showed up, and it's
I think he was dying. The shark was actively eating him.
No, but this woman, she comes in and she has her child who's probably maybe a preteen, right? Maybe they're watching E.T. for the very first time, but they show up 20 minutes into the movie. Ooh. They come and they sit right in front of my wife and I. And
was it a full theater?
It was pretty close to being full, but her daughter had a blanket and she's wrapping up in the blanket in her chair. Now, I will say this is important information I have to say. Okay. The woman was in a wheelchair. Okay. Now, she planted herself right in the middle of the aisle.
Isn't there special seating for that, though?
You would think that she would have gone to that special seating, but she didn't. Maybe because she walked into the movie 20 minutes into it and it was already dark in the theater.
That's fair.
But it was one of those motorized ones. So she was like going back and forth during the movie. At one point, she almost backed into my seat, and then turned around and looked at me. And so I was trying to be like, all right, benefit of the doubt and all that stuff. But then she was talking to her daughter as we're watching the movie, like they were watching the movie on their couch in the living room, Amy.
Yeah, that's how these people were in mine.
And my wife has no tolerance for that.
I know,
she doesn't.
I love her so much.
She looked at me and she was like, so we go to the other side of the theater, Amy.
Good for you. You proactively. I almost did that, and I didn't have the energy to do it. So good for you.
So we did that, and then we sit down, and maybe within a minute of us sitting down, we hear a little girl's voice behind us asking questions about E.T. And then my wife and I just looked at each other and went, okay, well, it just seems like no matter what we do, we're just not going to, like, people have lost their mind and just don't know how to watch movies in a movie theater anymore. It's a crisis. It is an absolute crisis.
Especially because if I'm taking out the time of my day to go watch a 2 hour and 50 minute, 2 hour, sometimes 3-hour movie. I don't want to be interrupted by other people. Like I have little, like they're the loop earplugs that you can wear to like concerts. They have them for like ballparks. I have a couple different sets because some will like dampen. You can still hear what's going on, but it'll dampen conversations around you. It got to the point where like I was like, do I move my seat? And I really don't feel like getting up and trying to find one in the dark. Or let me see if my earplugs that I always have on me, like if that'll dampen it. And I had to put those in, and I could still hear them over the earplugs, but it was better than me just being irritated the whole movie. And I just like, I feel like if there's not a way to police this, then there should be like, all right, great. Just like Dodger Stadium has the like text this if, you know, the fan code of whatever, there should be like a movie theater text number. Like, hey, the people in row H, like you need to come get them. Cause I don't want to get up and leave the movie. And now I'm missing it because these people are talking and I need, you know, whatever. I don't want to shush them. And depending on who they are, do they retaliate? Do they like, is my safety now in question? Or are they just rude the whole time? So like there's if you're not going to make sure that your audience is quiet, even though you put the little thing on the screen, there's got to be a way to like, okay, let me just safely text you, hey, people in row H are, you know, they won't shut up and I can't enjoy the movie, and you're either gonna have to refund me and I'm gonna have to come back another day. I'm gonna be pissed about that.
Yeah, it's I hate
it's an epidemic.
It is, and I hate that we have to have this conversation. But I had a great movie weekend. I saw 3 movies this weekend: E.T., I saw Mr. Hulot's Holiday, and you want to know the third movie that I saw was probably the best in theater experience that I had was Jane Campion's The Piano, a movie about a mute woman. That's the one that had the best audience that behaved. You know, and
go figure.
Exactly, right?
I still want to see the Odyssey one more time, and I have to go see Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yes.
Spider-Man. Yes, it's on my list. I don't know when I'm gonna. It's been hard to fit it all in lately, but we find a way, right?
That's right. Just like life. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. For those of you that have been listening on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us your comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Bluesky at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.